Greetings, Sun Devil Nation, and welcome to this week's installment of the Anderson Healey Show. This broadcast, courtesy of the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network, gets you up to speed every week on the latest developments in Arizona State Sun Devil athletics. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball, and it's my pleasure to serve as your co-host each week. My regular co-host, Arizona State Vice President for University Athletics, Ray Anderson, unable to be with us this week. Ray traveling to the nation's capital on business. So filling in this week for Ray, it is a pleasure to welcome Arizona State Deputy Athletic Director and one-time Sun Devil football player and a longtime friend, Mr. Gene Boyd. Gene, great to have you with us this week.
Great to be here, Tim.
Thanks for joining in. Now, in these first few weeks of the fall semester, the talk of the Arizona State Athletic Department has been the Sun Devil volleyball team. What a start they are off to. 12-0 on the year, the third best start in program history. And this week, volleyball will finally get a chance to play its first home matches of the season. 12-0, and all 12 of their victories have come on the road. That is remarkable. The Sun Devils will have their home opener and their Pac-12 opener at Mullet Arena this coming Thursday night, September 21st, a 7 p.m. match against, guess who? That school down south, the Arizona Wildcats. And then a Sunday 1 p.m. match against Washington. And we're going to focus on volleyball in today's show as our two guests come from the Sun Devil volleyball program. You'll meet first-year head coach J.J. Van Niel and one of J.J.'s star players, graduate setter Shannon Shields, will be with us later on. So we're looking forward to those two conversations. Now, as we generally do in the fall, we begin this week's show with a Sun Devil football recap. And to say that last Saturday was a rough one for the maroon and gold in the house that Frank Cush built is a minor understatement, I would say, as the injury-depleted Sun Devils suffered their first home shutout defeat in 35 years, falling 29-0 to the Fresno State Bulldogs at Mountain America Stadium. Fresno State has now won 12 consecutive games, which is the second longest current active win streak in the Football Bull subdivision. Only Georgia, with 20 straight wins, has a longer current winning streak. So, Gene, really, when you're going up against an opponent that good, they're going to be tough enough to beat anyway. But when you turn the ball over 8 times, as the Sun Devil offense did, and you're doing so in the midst of an incredible rash of early season injuries, there's really no chance to win a game like that.
I've heard a lot of people say, and I'm one of them, I've never seen anything like it.
I haven't either.
Just the sheer number of players that have gone down with injuries that either are for a longer, more substantive period of time, or in this particular week, shorter term injuries, but the the nature in which they happen and the rapid nature in which they happen, left an already challenged, front five, for example, on the offensive line,
right,
even more so. And so then, you have to adapt in every way possible, game plan, obviously personnel groupings and all those kind of things. Again, I think it's also been stated by a lot that the defense did a tremendous job of holding up its end of the bargain, and to have that many turnovers and short fields, the amount of time it does tells you everything you need to know about what they're capable of doing. And now it's putting things together to collectively elevate on all 3 phases of the game to be in a highly competitive way. And I'll tell you this. Coach Dillingham, as he talks with his staff and with the team, he's not relenting anything. The culture that he sought to establish from the day he got here, he is sticking right with it, not modifying the expectations culturally, and expects this team to come out fighting and competing to win is what the expectation is.
Absolutely. I think it's safe to say that in the third game of the season, if you're playing your 4th string quarterback, there are issues in terms of injuries, and that's exactly where the Sun Devils were last week. Highly talented true freshman Jaden Rashad at the start of the first 2 weeks was sidelined prior to the game, likely will be out 4 to 6 weeks with his as yet undisclosed injury. And then during the game, both Trenton Bourget and Notre Dame transfer Drew Pine were injured, and had to leave. So by game's end, it was BYU transfer and Chandler High School product Jacob Conover who was quarterbacking. And given the fact that Jacob gets precious few reps in practice each week as the fourth string quarterback, I thought he acquitted himself creditably.
He did. Jacob is always a bright light in the locker room, in the facility, always upbeat, positive. We know he's a competitor. There was that irony amongst other ironies during the game that between him and Fresno's quarterback, King, they had both been Chandler High School quarterbacks and both won 2 state championships. And so, you're hoping that he's going to go out and be some kind of duel of 2 Chandler quarterbacks. Of course, there were just too many obstacles for that to play out that way. But whether we've got one of the guys who's injured back in the fold and up and ready to start, or Jacob is ready. I mean, at least he's getting reps this week.
Yeah.
And is contemplating these things in real life scenarios at practice. Either or all 3 of the individuals who are possible will be armed with the best game plan possible to go be competitive in this game.
Yeah. And, another bright note, we're taping this show on Tuesday, so the Sun Devils had their first practice of the week just a few hours ago, and we did see that tight end Jalen Conyers was back, and that would be a welcome addition to get a player of that talent back on the field.
Well, when you think about the receiving strength that we went into the season with, and Jalen being a big part of that, without question, bringing him back into the fold, gives you options that you don't have without him.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the defense a moment ago, Gene, and honestly speaking, the last time, by the way, the Sun Devils were shut out at home was in November of 1988 in Larry Marmee's first year as head coach, when the USC Trojans, who ironically are the opponent this week, came here and were quarterbacked by a guy named Rodney Peete, and USC put a 50-0 whipping on Arizona State. And the honest truth is, last Saturday's game could have had a score of similar nature were it not for how well the Sun Devil defense competed. Fresno State was forced to attempt 7 field goals in that game, of which they made 5, but the defense did not let the game truly get out of hand. They sacked Mikey Keene, the Chandler High School product who quarterbacks Fresno State, 6 times. Some of the most beautifully timed blitzes, corner crashes from Ro Torrance, 2 sacks. Shamari Simmons had a great safety blitz for a sack. I thought the defense played really, really well under really trying circumstances.
Yeah, you mentioned Shamari Simmons. I mean, this is a guy, and I'm singling him out for a reason, because he has the mindset that it doesn't matter how bad it is. I'm just going to play as hard as I can. I'm going to do what I'm coached to do. And we saw that he made plays, all throughout that second half. I mean, this is a guy who had a pretty significant injury during the week. And it wasn't stated up front or anything. And if people knew what the injury was, they'd be amazed that he was out there playing, let alone at a high caliber. I think he really symbolizes what Coach Ward is trying to instill in these guys. And we're still looking for a turnover, right, on that side of the ball. Yeah. I think they're going to come in droves at some point. Schematics versus learning and interpretation, and then flat out playing are all kind of, incremental elevated opportunities to then have a complete picture of a great defense. I thought Shamari was really emblematic, I should say, of what we're looking for in terms of those incremental steps towards high performance. And I think you'll continue to see that out of the defensive side of the ball.
And we'll see it in the Pac-12 opener this coming Saturday night. The number 5 ranked USC Trojans, the highest scoring team in America, averaging 59 points a game, come to Mountain America Stadium, quarterbacked by the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams, who Kenny Dillingham said the other day is one of the best quarterbacks he's ever seen in college football. Gene, in our game at USC last year, it was a very competitive game, which the Trojans won. But the thing that struck me most about Caleb Williams was his escapability. You just can't get him down in the pocket. It's a combination of strength, athleticism, elusiveness, but I've never seen a quarterback that can extend plays in the pocket longer than Caleb Williams.
Some would call it slippery, right? He's slippery as well. You don't see many of them that have that complete package. I think Kenny said it this way, he does pretty much everything well. And so your intent is to disrupt his ability to do what he's comfortable doing, make him uncomfortable, but then, you've got to have continuity on the outsides because, again, he's slippery and if he gets outside, then, he can run or throw the ball and those kind of things. So you want to make it as uncomfortable as possible. Sure. For a guy like that. And but you certainly respect who and what he is. I mean, you don't win the Heisman Trophy just because you're a pretty good player. You're an excellent star-type player in that regard.
He was phenomenal last year, set USC single-season records, threw for over 4,200 yards, 42 touchdowns a year ago, and is off to a fantastic start so far this year. In fact, has yet to throw an interception through the season's first 3 games. Gene, these are obviously tough times for the football program, challenging with all the injuries, a tough opponent this week. What would be yours and Sun Devil Athletics prime messaging for the fan base right now?
Yeah, Coach Dillingham is someone who is committed to the long haul here and committed to building something. Obviously, his greatest desire is for the team to be a winner immediately. And then there's what's in between where that goal is and where we are today. We want to close that gap every single week. I would say that, regardless of people's perspectives and even feelings, because, football and sports are emotional, regardless of their feelings about decisions that have been made in the past and all those kind of things. Coach Dillingham is someone that we can root for. The players who have been recruited to come here, understanding that we were in a difficult time period and going to be coming out of a difficult time period. These are individuals that we can root for individuals who can support the program in different ways than attending a game or participating, in name, image, and likeness, all those kind of things. We just need your support. I mean, these young men are representing this brand, the Arizona State brand. I wore the jersey. A lot of people are alumni of the institution, and we just need your support in your presence, in your words. These young men deserve that as it relates to their effort to compete at the highest level that they can.
Yeah, and there's certainly another element to this game coming up on Saturday night, and it still is one that's tough for some of us to wrap our minds around. The last ASU-USC football matchup as competing members of the Pac-12 conference.
It's bizarre. I mean, as a Southern California guy, when I went to high school and junior college, and you grew up kind of with the UCLA-USC rivalry, but you knew that they were part of something bigger, which was the Pac-10 at the time. My second game at Arizona State University was in the Coliseum, and
a win. USC. Yes, I remember that. I was there,
and I had an interception in the game. So I mean, all those memories that all of us have, all the Sun Devil Nation has.
The Hail Mary.
Absolutely. I think about the Rose Bowl season in '96, and that was a back and forth dogfight of a game. If I'm not mistaken, it was either at the very end of the game or in overtime. And it was right when, after a 2-point conversion, you could return a failed conversion, for your own 2 points, and that's how the game ended.
Courtney
Jackson picked up the ball and ran it back, and the game was over. I mean, we think about all these, Pac-10 and Pac-12 competitions, and we've got to relish this one because it was, very meaningful, has been over the entire time.
Because I remember last year we played at the Coliseum. We knew USC was off to the Big Ten at that point. We didn't know what the future held for the rest of the Pac-12 and for Arizona State, but I was getting sentimental there, thinking that might be my last time ever at the Coliseum, and now this may be the last time we'll see the Trojan. And there's going to be a lot of those in the weeks to come, except when we play Colorado, Utah, and that school down south. We'll be Big 12 rivals there, but it's a bittersweet time, isn't it, in that regard?
It definitely is. The necessitation of the move in general is bittersweet. I think people have talked about their fond memories. And in fact, we've talked with our coaches and student athletes about, doing this last year, participating, performing this last year in the Pac-12 with our hair on fire, and being, as high performing as we can, and then we'll prepare for the Big 12, but we'll respect and honor the tradition that the Pac-12 has brought us.
Well, the Sun Devil Radio Network, the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network will have you covered for this weekend's game against the USC Trojans. Our broadcast coverage will begin at 5 p.m. on Saturday evening with the Sun Devil Tailgate Show hosted by Jeff Munn and Kevin Turner. And then 1986 Rose Bowl MVP Jeff Van Raphorst will join me and Kevin Turner for the play-by-play broadcast starting at approximately 7:30 this Saturday night. And you can hear the game on Arizona Sports 98.7 FM. It will also be streamed on arizonasports.com and on the Arizona Sports app. Sun Devil Volleyball's incredible 12-0 start to their 2023 season is all the more compelling when you consider the fact that Arizona State has yet to play a single match at home. Well, that's going to change this coming weekend as the Devils are back in Tempe following their 3 latest victories on the road, and they're ready to open up Pac-12 conference play this Thursday night at Mullet Arena against that school down south, with a match coming up Sunday against the Washington Huskies as well. Coming up, we're going to take a deep dive into Sun Devil Volleyball as we visit with 2 members of the Arizona State program. Graduate setter Shannon Shields will join us a little bit later on. But up next, you'll meet the architect of the 12-0 start for Sun Devil Volleyball as first-year head coach J.J. Van Niel will join us. But first, let's take a timeout. This is the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Our guest on this segment is one of the newest members of the Sun Devil Athletics coaching family, whose ASU volleyball team has opened a lot of eyes around the college volleyball world the last few weeks, and for good reason. The Sun Devils have opened their 2023 season with 12 consecutive victories, the 3rd best start to a season in program history, and it's the best ever by a first-year head coach at Arizona State. Even more impressive is the fact that every single one of those 12 match wins have come on the road, and 9 of them have been in sweeps. This past weekend, making the team's 4th out-of-town trip in as many weekends, Coach J.J. Van Niel's Sun Devils won the championship of the Beale Street Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee, as they defeated Memphis, Little Rock, and Southern Mississippi, sweeping all 3 matches. A former Pac-12 assistant coach at Utah and at USC, his alma mater, Coach J.J. Van Niel joins us this week here on the Anderson Healey Show. Great to see you, J.J. Last time we were on by Zoom. Yep. Now we got the high-tech cameras, multi-camera in-person show. Great to have you with us. Things are going good right now, huh?
Yeah. It's great to be here, and I couldn't have asked for a better start, that's for sure.
To what degree, if any, are you surprised by the 12-0 start that your team has been able to forge so far?
Great question. I think for me, it's always in my grain to just expect wins. I'm sure Shannon would agree because it's never good enough. But I think it's always a surprise, because there's always a match where there's a letdown or something that happens inevitably. So I'm really proud of the team. I think, they've done a phenomenal job of just being really steady the whole preseason. It's like not too many point runs, kind of playing our game and the systems that we want to do consistently. And I think that consistency is what makes it really hard for our opponents.
And I would think that once you start winning matches, it's that thing about confidence, and the dominoes start falling, and it breeds further success for your players. Isn't that true?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, in anything you do, when you feel confident, you feel really good going into it. And I do feel like our team is like that. I think we've got a great culture, a great group of kids, and I think they're really fired up about being here. Finally at home this Thursday, that's for sure.
I was going to say, to me, that's the most compelling aspect of 12-0, all of them on the road. Yeah. You're getting great frequent flyer miles, certainly, but I've always, in my years in college sports, it takes a special quality for teams to have success playing away from home. What have you sensed about your team? What quality do they have that has made them able to do that so far?
I think there's a couple of things. I mean, probably the most important is they just genuinely love being around each other. It's like I said, it's a really fun team to be around. I mean, I tell everyone that I talk to, they should hang out with our team because they're just a fun, great group from top to bottom to be around. And so I think that's part of it. A couple kids last night came by the office and we ended up playing cards, and I'm like, that's crazy because we were just on the road for 4 straight weekends where it's like, that's the time where everyone's just like, I want a break and I don't need to be around you. And like they jumped at the chance and we played a quick card game. Shannon, yes, we won.
Wow. There you go.
Shannon's a very good card player, actually.
Yeah. We'll give Shannon a few minutes for rebuttal in the next segment. But so often in college sports, when there is a change in the leadership of the program, the new coaches have to establish their quote-unquote program culture first, and eventually, sometimes a year, maybe 2 later, the wins start following. You've kind of hit the mother lode, it seems to me. You're establishing your culture and you're getting wins in the process. That's a pretty special combination to have going. Yeah,
I'm really fortunate. When I came in, I had a perception of who I was going to come in, and obviously I'd coached against them, so I had a little familiarity. But you just never know in a new program how they're going to respond to you, how you're going to vibe, what it's going to be like. And I think right away we, as a staff, came in and just worked on culture and relationship building. And I feel very fortunate because the 9 kids that were there were just completely receptive and bought in, and it's really a testament to them. Like we built the culture together, they bought in. Like I said, they're just a really, really good group around. I mean, the 23-year-old can be around the 18-year-old and you wouldn't know that there's that big of a difference because they just can vibe together really well. And then all the kids we brought in, the freshmen, the transfers, have just melded in really beautifully, and it's a cool group, and I think that's a big reason for our success.
And it sure helps to have really, really good players that when you take over, is to get them not only to buy in but perform to their level. And you have a terrific player in Marta Levinska, who was honorable mention All Pac-12 a year ago. In fact, she, I think, is the current Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week for her performance at the Beale Street Challenge in Memphis. 42 kills in the 3 matches, 21 alone against Southern Mississippi. Talk about Marta and what she has brought to your program.
Yeah, of course, I knew about Marta, coached against her.
Sure.
Big lefty oppa who can score. Her blocking's improved tremendously. Really, really steady person. I think some of the things that are most fun for probably me and even the team are like when she gets really fired up, because she's like really pretty even keeled. But that first tournament we played, she had some moments that she was getting pretty fiery, and that was really cool. But she's just continued to elevate her game. She's doing a great job again this year, and when she needs to score, she's scoring. Maybe if she's not as offensive, there was one match, I think it was this weekend, she reeled off like 10 serves in a row. Shannon did the same thing against Southern Miss, but she can serve really well, just kind of plays whatever role she needs. So really lucky to have her.
Yeah, Marta was the MVP of the tournament this week. Last week at the Lumberjack Classic in Flagstaff, another tournament that you swept, it was Jelly Sear, who got the same kudos as the MVP of the Lumberjack Classic. Talk about her.
Yeah, Jelly's done a phenomenal job, and just one of the kids that's really brought into kind of some of the system things we're trying to do. And she's always been a really good passer, and she's gone to next level this year. There was something that came out. I don't really use social media much, but I don't know. When we were playing cards yesterday, people blew her up. Right now she's like the best passer in the country.
Wow.
I guess.
Wow.
So I didn't really dig into that, but I just know that with her, with Mary Schroll, Shania, Estella, when they're coming in to help pass, like we're passing really well, and that's why our offense is playing well, and how Marta has success. But Jelly offensively she's made some really good strides and is at numbers that she's never experienced before, which is cool. We're
going to meet one of your players in the next segment. Graduate setter Shannon Shields is going to join us. She's made the all-tournament team in the last 2 tournaments you played in. She's a local product from Xavier College Prep in Phoenix. Talk about her contribution so far this year.
Yeah, Shannon's one of the leaders of the team.
Besides playing cards.
Shannon's a very good card player, probably second to me.
Okay.
In the whole group.
Again, she'll get 2 minutes for rebuttal, but that's all right.
It's great to have Shannon dishing the rock for us. I actually recruited her when I was back at Utah, And when I first had my first conversation with her, I'm like, "Do you remember me?" She goes, "Yeah, I remember you. You came down from snowboarding and were in your snowboard gear when we were on our visit." I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably not good, but yeah, I'm glad you remember." So, Shannon we're running a very fast offense, especially to our lefts, and you can't do that without good setting, and Shannon's been doing a great job, but she adds so much more. I think she's got a really nice composure on the court. Her serve is phenomenal. Like I said, I think it was Southern Miss. She reeled off, I think, 10 straight, and then went back to the line. I think we got around to her again. Did we even get around to you again? I don't know if we got around to you again, because that game we won like 25-6, but it was largely her. We opened up the game, and she just went on this scoring run. So she's got a really good serve. She can defend. She's made massive improvements in her blocking. She put on 3 inches on her vert last spring, which is really unheard of for someone, kind of in her senior year to do that. And it's just a testament to how hard she's been working. So super proud of her and thankful she's on our team.
And that's been one key to your success on the floor is your service game. In fact, Arizona State, according to the last statistics, the Sun Devils, the national leader in aces per set. They're averaging over 2.5 aces per set so far this season. And you have 3, and Shannon, I think, being one of them, 3 players with 20 or more aces on the year.
All right. Well, I didn't know that, but that's great to know. One of the things when I got here was serving will be part of our program. Just that's what we do. And we spent a lot of time in the spring working on it. We continue to work on that, and kids are doing a great job. So that's cool to see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, glad to be the bearer of good news, I guess. 12-0, great start. Obviously, 3rd best in program history. But I'm wondering, is there a sense that now's when the rubber hits the road? Now you're getting into Pac-12 play. For years, the Pac-12 has been one of the best volleyball leagues in the country, and the desire to keep this thing going in your most significant matches of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with one of my Pac-12 colleague coaches, and we were just talking about whatever happens, kind of irrelevant. Now, like you said, the rubber hits the road, and this is where the real stuff occurs. So I think we had really good tests. We got to go on the road 4 straight weeks. I know everyone's excited to be back, but now we get to play some pretty physical teams, and I think every team has kind of little things that are different, and so it's just really fun because you know them and you kind of know how these programs have been forever, and it's really fun. I mean, I'm going to miss the Pac-12, of course.
Yeah,
and
we all are.
We're looking forward to competing here.
But my goodness, what a way to open against your arch rival at Mullet Arena. In fact, the first 2 matches this weekend, not only Arizona Thursday night, 7 p.m., but Washington Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m., both at the Mullet. And you might get 5,000 people there, JJ, on Thursday night to see the Devils and the Cats go at it. That's what we're hearing. So we're really excited. We were fortunate we got to do our intra-squad scrimmage. It feels like forever now, but back in August, and even at that, we had 1,750 people, which blew me away. I mean, we really appreciate the support. But it's fun. I mean, DFA is a really cool arena, and then now you've got Mullet, and we've got a new court down there. It looks great. It's fun. We're pretty fired up. In fact, it's my understanding you're going to play 5 of your home matches on the season at Mullet, and then the other 5, I think, at Desert Financial. Yep, half and half. So, yeah, we're really excited. It's a great advantage. Before we let you go, I just wanted to talk for a minute about the unusual career path that you took en route to this position at Arizona State. JJ's, I believe, a 1998 graduate of the University of Southern California, and you went into the financial world for a while and were having good success. What leads one to say, I think I want to get into coaching and pursue the path that you did? Yeah, my wife still, I think, is curious about that. I think a couple things. One, I randomly started coaching. I played volleyball growing up, so I was always into it. And then I was playing at the time down there in adult leagues, and I randomly started helping a coast volleyball club. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, I'll go help whenever I can. And it was not regular because I traveled a lot. I was always in New York or DC, and but I just, from the first day I went in there, I just fell in love with coaching. And my personality, whatever I get into, I become obsessive about it. And I became obsessed with how to teach volleyball, try to figure out how I can be better as a teacher,
to get kids better, and then also just the analytics side. So I kind of dove into both of those, and after a couple years, it just became clear that like that was what I was passionate about, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to step away after 12 years in the world of finance and hedge funds and make a complete pivot, and now I find myself here, thanks to Ray Anderson and Christina and Graham and everybody that obviously hired me. But it's cool. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I tell kids all the time, find what you're passionate about. You'll never work a day in your life, and I truly feel like that with volleyball. I just love every day. So.
Well, I kind of feel the same way about my job, and I know exactly what you're saying. How good can your team be? How good do you think you can be this year with Pac-12 play looming ahead?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out. I mean, I feel like we can surprise some people. I really do. So I know I think we were picked 10th. So
yeah,
I feel like we're a much better team than 10th in the Pac-12. But we'll see.
Well, I think most people would agree that they're a much better team than that, and we're anxious to find it and watch it unfold over the next few months. JJ, so great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That's Sun Devil head volleyball coach JJ Van Niel, our guest on this segment of the Anderson Healey Show. Coming up, we'll meet one of JJ's star players as senior setter Shannon Shields will join us. This is the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Welcome back to the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for this week's show. In our last segment, we visited with the architect of Arizona State Volleyball's remarkable early season success, first-year head coach J.J. Van Niel. Now we get the chance to chat with one of J.J.'s players and a key component in the Sun Devils' 12-0 start that is the third best in the history, the 50-year history of the ASU women's volleyball program. Our guest is a local product from Phoenix's Xavier Prep. She's a one-time Arizona Volleyball Player of the Year, now a graduate student at Arizona State after beginning her career at the University of Louisville. She is back home now in her fourth season as a Sun Devil. This year she's been named to the all-tournament teams at each of the last two weekend events, which the Sun Devils swept, the Lumberjack Classic in Flagstaff 2 weekends ago, the Beale Street Challenge in Memphis last weekend. She is far and away the team leader with over 400 assists, one of 3 Sun Devils to record 20 or more service aces on the year. It is a pleasure to welcome senior setter Shannon Shields to the show. How are you, Shannon? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm great.
12-0.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. This must be a great time for you and your teammates, huh?
Oh, for sure. We're all hyped up. This is obviously the best season we've ever had since 2015. Was it 13?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and just coming into this season with that 12-0 run, everyone's so proud of themselves, and we're so excited for in-season.
I asked JJ, and I think he was a little bit stumped by the question, but are you surprised that you're 12-0 right now?
I'm not surprised. I think we
Really?
put in the work. Yeah, JJ came in, he had a plan, and there was only 9 of us back then, but the 9 of us, we gathered, and we wanted to do so well this season, and we put hefty goals above our heads, and I am not surprised. We worked hard to get here. So,
what are some of the things he's done? I mean, this is a remarkable turnaround in just literally about a month's period of time. What are some of the keys that he has brought to the program that has made you a better volleyball team?
I did overhear a little bit about what he was saying, and he brought that chemistry. He came in, he wanted to know each of us individually. He took us to get coffee. All of the coaches took us to get coffee, and he built that relationship. So we have that trust in him as our head coach. And on the volleyball side of it, he really wanted our serving to be the best in the pack, maybe even the best in all of the volleyball world right now. He implemented a fast offense. We're not the tallest team in the pack, so having this fast offense has really helped us take the lead and just really show our worth as a team. I think that's major components he's really added.
We mentioned on JJ's interview how your team leads the nation in service aces per set, and that's I think it's like 2.5 aces per set so far. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's so exciting. I didn't know that either. So when you said that, I was like, wow. But we work on serving maybe 40 minutes in a practice.
Wow.
So yeah, he's all about it. He wants us to mix it up. He wants us to be super aggressive. And I think with that freedom to, he's like, hey, I want you to be aggressive. It's okay if you miss a few. And I think that freedom allows us to really just get those aces and serve the team out of the court.
Yeah, usually when a coach comes in, it's building a culture first and then getting wins. And we mentioned with JJ in the interview, he's been able to do both. And I think so much of the culture building, a key is people like you and Marta Levinska, you're the veterans who've been here to buy into the new coach. How did that process go?
Yes, when we found out we were getting a new coach, I had talked to some of the players that were planning to stay, and we had this discussion. We said, whoever comes in here, let's change this program. Let's turn this around. And JJ came in, and he was confident. Like I said, he had the plan. He wanted to get to know us, and he was super set on chemistry. I think we had like a Zoom call before he officially came in. He was like, hey guys, I'm JJ, this is my plan. I want the chemistry to be strong this year, and I want you guys to trust me. And I think that was just like the building block we needed, a coach that wants the best for us and trusts us as a team, and we got to trust him. So.
You get a good test of chemistry when you have to go on the road for the first 4 weeks in the new coaching tenure of your first-year head coach. You've been to, Fort Myers, Florida, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and nearby El Paso, Texas, Flagstaff, and then last week in Memphis. And you guys are road warriors, 12-0. How have you been able to have that success with all that travel?
Yeah, I just love being with my team. I was actually in a room with 3 the last tournament, and usually
at the hotel? Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's 3 of us in one room, and we're all tall, and but I actually enjoyed it. It was fun, and every time we go to a hotel, we, some of us go in one room and we watch a volleyball game, and like JJ said, we play cards, and it's just really fun to be on the road too, when you can talk to, anybody about everything, so it's really cool.
Boy, all the years I've been doing this, you just hear athletes and teams constantly, it seems like the ones that get along off the field or off the court are the ones that have success on the field or on the court. Don't you find that to be true?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm lucky to have this team, and we're all friendly with each other. We all hang out. I know JJ mentioned, the youngest on the team just turned 18. And I don't see that difference in age because we're basically sisters. And when we hang out with each other, we're all equals. So I think that's what makes this team so great. There's no gap or any type of thing like that. So.
You have a terrific player as the focal point of this team, Marta Levinska. I mean, she's been so accomplished in her career. Talk about having her as a teammate and all she's brought to the program.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Being a setter, I love setting up Marta and seeing her success, and I feel like we have a good connection on the court and off the court. But like JJ said before, she is so steady. So you just know that you can lean on her for anything. I mean, when we're in a tough situation, she's usually my go-to. I'm setting Marta. She has a double block. I'm setting Marta, sort of thing. But yeah, when she decided to stay for the new coach, I was super pumped, obviously. And she bought in right away, and like I expected. Yeah, but she's awesome.
She's a terrific player for sure. I can't imagine, Shannon, how excited you and your teammates must be just to get back home, play a home match, but to have it be at Mullet Arena against the U of A in your Pac-12 opener with this 12-0 start as the fuel. Talk about all the buildup for this match coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we came back from Memphis and the football game was going on and we were walking through the parking lot, and there was, tons of people around eating hot dogs and stuff. And me and my roommate are walking home because we live right across the street, and tons and tons of people were like, hey, you guys are doing great. Great job, volleyball. And it's so different from last year. So just knowing that we have tons of fans and they're watching our success, and I'm just so excited for this Thursday match. I can't wait to see what we do.
Do you sense the team has a little, I don't know if it would be a chip on the shoulder, but that you still, even though you're 12-0, have a little something to prove, because now it's like with Coach Van Niel said, the rubber meets the road. You're getting into Pac-12 play against your arch rival. These are the biggest matches of the year.
Yeah, we still do have that chip on our shoulder from last year. We want to prove everyone wrong. We want to prove that this program is amazing and is going to stay strong throughout this in-season session.
Yeah. Now, you started your career at Louisville. Was that a hard decision to leave home, and what led you to come back? Because things have worked out magnificently for you here at Arizona State.
Yeah, actually, I'm an only child, so when I was in the recruiting process, I was a freshman in high school. They changed the rules recently, but I committed end of my freshman year in high school. So I was like, hey, I want to get out of Arizona. I want to try something new. I've been here my whole life. You know, being that only child, I wanted to explore a little bit in college. And I did enjoy Louisville. I loved all of the people there, but it just wasn't the right place for me. And I think being that young and making that decision was tough. So coming back here, I'm glad I'm here and close to home, and it's all worked out.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of players on the football team this year under ASU's first-year head coach Kenny Dillingham, guys who were stars here, went elsewhere, and now come back, and it's really great to see the hometown kids return. But I would love to see a huge crowd at Mullet on Thursday night. What do you sense that atmosphere is going to be like on Thursday?
Oh, it's going to be rowdy for sure. I'm just excited. I have a lot of friends coming. Some people I met in my class, I was like, hey, get to that game, and they're coming. So it's just fun to see people so excited for volleyball, you know. And I did hear that it's filling up fast. Even my mom was like, do I need to get tickets? Is there a problem? And so it's exciting. I think it's going to be electric.
Well, let's hope you keep it going. This has been a lot of fun. I think all of Sun Devil Nation is behind the volleyball team with their great 12-0 start. Here's hoping you can make it 13 and 14-0 this week. Shannon, thanks for joining us. Great to have you.
Thank you.
And Sun Devil setter Shannon Shields, our guest on this segment of the Anderson Healey Show. Gene Boyd will rejoin me as we wind down this week's episode in a moment. This is the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We're winding down this week's installment of the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for each week's show. Gene Boyd, Sun Devil Deputy Athletic Director, filling in for Ray Anderson this week, and we're delighted to have Gene with us. Let's talk some golf, shall we? Let's hit the links on this mid-September day. After finishing second in their opening event of the school year a couple of weeks ago, the third-ranked Sun Devil men's golf team posted a fifth-place finish last weekend at the weather-shortened Fighting Illini Invitational out in Champaign, Illinois, hosted by the University of Illinois. Inclement weather limited the event to just 36 holes, with the Sun Devils finishing those two rounds at even par, 10 strokes behind tournament winner North Carolina. Individually, Josele Ballester was Arizona State's top finisher, placing in an 8th place tie with a 2-under par total of 138. But good start for Sun Devil men's golf so far, Gene.
I mean, you'd expect it from Matt Thurman that he's going to replenish the roster and continue to have a highly competitive roster where, I mean, you know, sometimes the competition to get into the countable members that are playing may be higher than some of the people that they're competing against.
That's right.
So that's the expectation now.
Absolutely. But good work by Josele Ballester, good work by the Sun Devils in that rain-shortened event out in Illinois. Next up for Coach Thurman and his team, the Ben Hogan Challenge, which will take place in Westworth Village, Texas, which is just a little bit west of Fort Worth, and that'll take place next Monday and Tuesday, October 2nd and 3rd. Busy times this fall for the Sun Devil women's golf program. They finished third in their most recent event, the McGuire Invitational at Albuquerque, New Mexico, hosted by the University of New Mexico Lobos. ASU's Ashley Menney was the team's highest individual finisher, placing 6th with a 5-under par tournament total. It was Ashley's 10th career top 10 finish in a tournament. Next, the Sun Devils are back on the links this coming weekend. No rest for the weary as they head back east to Franklin, Tennessee for the Mason Rudolph Invitational this Friday through Sunday. Seems to me, Gene, both golf programs are primed to have big years this season.
Top 10 historically for both of them, and you just have to appreciate that in a season that has, you know, so much time over the time period, 8 or 9 months, that you know, the young people can ramp themselves up and get ready to go repeatedly. But with that caliber of talent, they're well equipped to do it.
Yeah, that is a long season when you come to think of it, because both golf teams are playing their fall schedules now, but they'll be back at it in the spring. And of course, the NCAA championships have been hosted at Greyhawk Golf Club the last few years, and that happens late May, early June. So it's a long way to May and June, but lots of great golf in store. And we also want to pass along kudos to an outstanding recent alum of the Sun Devil women's golf program. Alexandra Firstling posted her first career tournament championship this past weekend on the Ladies European Tour, as Alexandra won the title at the VP Bank Swiss Ladies Open, posting 3 consecutive rounds of 66. And that enabled Lexi, as she's known to her Sun Devil friends, to pocket a cool $45,000.
That's a sizable earning for winning that event. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as we talk about the competitive level for both of our golf programs, the coaching plus the day-to-day competition prepares them to go on to the next level and be immediately ready to perform for that kind of outcome.
Let's talk some triathlon now as we wind down this week's show. It hasn't happened often in the brief history of ASU's stunningly successful women's triathlon program, but the Sun Devils did not win a competition in which they competed last weekend. It was pretty darn close in Fort Worth, Texas, when Coach Cliff English's team lost a close battle to host TCU in the Battle of the Fort Triathlon. The final tally was TCU 170, ASU 168. However, Sun Devil Naomi Ruff did win the individual competition in Fort Worth as she finished the 3 events, the 5K run, the bike ride, and the swim, in 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 11 seconds. And Gene, Naomi's win was keyed by a fantastic performance in the 5K run. Get this, she began the run in 16th place in the overall competition, 65 seconds off the lead. By the time the 5K run had been completed, she had caught up to all the leaders with a blistering time of 18 minutes, 28 seconds. She was the only competitor that got below 19 minutes in the 5K.
Well, when you have 3 segments, it pays to be good at the one that's at the end, right? You can come back. But, you know, again, we've hoped that other NCAA programs, especially at the Division I level, would bring the sport on board so that not only, you know, there could be more competitive spaces, but also that could be considered an NCAA championship. And so it's really comforting to see TCU having done so. We know that others are coming quickly behind that, and it will continue to drive the sport forward. And we want it to be more competitive, but we fully expect when it's time to, you know, win the 7th national championship in a row, that Cliff pulls out all the stops. No pressure, Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff was on the show with us a couple of weeks ago, and this is one of the rare instances when you're going to see maroon and gold folks praising red and navy blue, but Arizona is one of the schools that just did add women's triathlon to get closer. Is it 40 schools that have to that have it to make it a full-fledged NCAA
That's absolutely
sport?
right. And you know, you think about those 3 schools. Those 3 will be in the Big 12 conference as we make the move too, which bodes well for, you know, that potentially being a conference-sponsored sport in the future.
Now, the next competition up for triathlon will be the NCAA West Qualifier. That will take place on Saturday, October 14th in Springfield, Missouri. With that, we bring down the curtain on this week's installment of the Anderson Healey Show. Thanks to our executive producer, ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director Doug Tamerow. Thanks to our stellar engineer producer, Sean Crespin from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. And we also want to thank our terrific group of interns at the Sun Devil Radio Network, Jacob Jones, Evan Reiser, and Bobby Hurley Jr. And we also thank our tremendous show scheduler, Kim Nelson from Sun Devil Athletics. And we thank our buddy Gene Boyd for filling in today. Good to visit with you, Gene.
Pleasure to be here, Tim. Onward to victory. Go Devils.
There you go. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Anderson Healey Show, at which time I will be joined by Arizona State Athletics Senior Associate Athletic Director and Senior Women's Administrator, Christina Wambacher, will join us next week. So for Gene Boyd and for Ray Anderson, I'm Tim Healey. We thank you for joining us on the Anderson Healey Show. So long, everybody.